Good morning, my family. Y'all, you blessed me again. Every time I come on these channels, you have done, oh my goodness, you blessed me till my cup runneth over. We are now over 1,700 subscribers and still growing. I am blessed beyond measure, but most of all, it isn't about so much the number as it is about the family that's joining with us. To know that I am literally being able to help many, many people across the world or the United States is amazing. That is my goal, because as you have heard my story, I have been to a point where we have been without. My goal was to never be able to have to do that again. So here we are. This is basically, I would say, the part 2. Yesterday we had done a video for low carb pantry stocking. Today's video is Mediterranean All-American pantry stocking. This one goes a little bit step further than most. So I am going to be including also in this 2 bonuses. I am going to be giving a recipe with the Mediterranean All-American, and then I am going to be giving to the same recipe, basically, and I'll explain what I'm talking about, a low carb way. So there is one thing I forgot to grab. So again, instead of putting you on pause, we're going to go into my pantry right behind me, because there is an ingredient that I had done and which I had shared with you. I believe I told you how I did this, but I didn't show you the actual results. So right behind me, I am going for our dehydrated potatoes. Now, as you can see, they look like chips. When I open this jar, my other one is sealed off, so when I open this jar, we have dried out potatoes. Smokey the photo bomber, get down. So, these are what I call my scallop potatoes. You can use these for scallop, augratin, either way. So, I am literally going to be making a homemade version. Instead of buying the boxed processed scallop potatoes, we are literally going to make a homemade version, bulk. Now, you could get anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds of potatoes. I will go through the process real quick again, just in case you didn't catch that one before. But it's super simple. Take and peel your potatoes. Let them sit in cold water for at least 15 minutes to drain out the starches. You can use red potatoes. You can use russet potatoes. Basically any type of potato you would like. Russets and red potatoes work pretty good. So after you let those sit, well, no, backtrack, slow down. Okay, so we are going to peel our potatoes. You're going to use, I used a mandolin. You can slice this if you can, using thin slices of 1/4 to 1/2 inch. I like the 1/4 inch. They are super simple to dehydrate, so I use the thin cutting on my mandolin. Then I will take those slices, let them soak in water for 15 minutes. In the meantime, I will take a big pot, fill it with water, and I will get this to boiling. Once my water is ready to boil, I will drain the potatoes that I have allowed to sit for 15 minutes, and I am going to blanch my potatoes for 5 minutes in boiling water. Immediately strain them into cold water. Take out your dryer sheets or dryer trays. Strain off those potatoes that you had in cold water. Once they are cooled, line them on your tray, and you can dampen them off with a paper towel. Set them in your dehydrator for at least 130 to 135 degrees for 8 to 10 hours. Now, I will tell you, both times that I did mine, Smokey, Lord have mercy, both times that I had done mine, mine only took about 4 hours. So they worked great. They're still dry, and these are amazing. Now I have 2 half-gallon, which means I have 1 gallon of potatoes. Now, Mediterranean, this will work for me. Will absolutely not work for my husband. So I can store these up for myself, portion it out, and I will give you the recipe that goes with this, which is the dry ingredients. It's one of those, you'll make up your ingredients, store them in your jar, and all you do is add water. It's going to be very simple from here. Once you add the ingredients, I will give you the measurements to be able to make your own scallop potatoes, stored in your pantry using 2 jars, and you have a meal on hand that you can store for the winter. Y'all, this is as simple as that. These are things that if you have a job that you're working during the week and you don't get the privilege to be able to do what I'm doing, and it, to me, I will tell you, I call this a privilege. I do not take this for granted that I am able to take care of this homestead while my husband actually does the income, because I could be in a much different position like many other folks right now in the economy we're in. I am privileged. I am blessed beyond measure to be able to do this. So, and this is why I help so many. So these can be weekend projects. Again, I will be putting recipes in here so that you can follow along, and on the bottom end of it, I will be putting a recipe in how to prepare that you can make a 9 by 13 inch pan of scallop potatoes, put them in your oven, and you have a meal. Throw in some ham, some chicken, or any other type of thing that you would want in it as a protein source, and you have a complete meal for your entire family. Now, if you're like me with only one person eating this, I am going to literally take that recipe and I am going to cut it in half. But any leftovers I have, I can have into a pan, a covered pan, throw it in my freezer, and now I have a prepared meal that I can just reheat and eat. So these are some things that will help me. Now, instead of making ham scallop potatoes, I can literally use chicken breast, seasoned, flavored, Mediterranean style, put that in my potatoes, and now I have a meal for me. So, and these are using whole ingredients such as, and now these are other things that have helped me a lot. I told you about those onions. Well, I have 2 different kinds, and I need to show you my other one too. So again, I'm going into my pantry. Y'all, these are stocked with all of fresh, home fresh foods that I have literally stocked in my pantry. I have regular minced or flaked onions. And then on those onions, I also did some in my slow cooker, some caramelized onions. Now, in my recipe that I'm going to bake my dry scallop potato ingredients, I'm going to use for extra flavor my caramelized onions. But either way, I could use either one. I have a variety of different flavors based on raw onions that I dehydrated. So, and those are simple, very simple. Chop them, put them on your tray, dehydrate them, 135 until they're completely dry. So we are going to be using those. I had my stocks again. This resource, I have dried onions. So instead of just using them for minced, I can powder them up, and now I have onion powder. And as you can see, I'm going to have to get a big bag of onions. I'm getting ready to go to Sam's Club very soon. I am going to be getting a big bag of onions to do nothing but dehydrate so I can refill my powdered onion tray, just like I did with the powdered garlic. So I am using fresh ingredients, not from the processed stuff from the grocery store where there's caking agents, this, that, and whatever. Now, does my, which I don't understand, but I'm thinking there's more water content in this than there is the garlic. So my garlic stays nice. I mean, it's just powdery. The one thing I have noticed, although it still works, I'm going to tell you I use it, but my powdered onions, they tend to, because I don't have caking agent, they do get kind of moist per se, but it doesn't hurt the quality. It doesn't do anything to them. It's just that it's not even wet. I can't say, it just cakes up. So, and I've been using this all winter and basically all year to my end here. So it's not really doing any difference or damage. Oh, that smells good. Oh my goodness. So it's not doing any damage. It just doesn't have the anti-caking. You can if you want to. Now, I'm not, because I don't want to add extra carbs or whatever. I may be Mediterranean. Like I told you yesterday, though, I am still watching my carbs. So I don't want to put cornstarch in there. Cornstarch will absorb the moisture to it. So you can do that if you want. That would be an anti-caking agent that you can put in there for yours. It doesn't bother me so much. I can literally crumble it back up and I've got the powder. I'm just going to stick with that. But that's something you can do. I don't have flavoring added to these. I don't have anti-caking agents. I don't have any of that extra stuff they add in dried mixes from the grocery store, like this. And here's our chives. So here's some of the ingredients that are in here. These just say chives, which that's simple. I'd rather do that, and more than likely these are freeze-dried. These we got from Sam's. The ground mustard, let's see if it has, well, that's interesting. Well, that's really interesting, because the ground mustard has no ingredients listed whatsoever. Wow. Seriously, that's very, very interesting. There is no ingredient list in here, so we have no idea what's in this. That's amazing. However, if I wanted to, I can go bulk style with mustard seed, ground it up, and I have mustard powder. That would be an emergency case if I don't have any. So, and I use mustard seeds, which is a good thing to have on hand, so I can make my homemade Dijon mustard. Again, I have that stored over here as well. Condiments, yes, you can absolutely, again, you can do store-bought, y'all. I'm not going to be the one to tell you can't, and I'm going to tell you there are many homesteaders. Don't let people kid you, big or small, little like me, city or country, big farms, acres to 0.34 acres. I'm going to tell you, there are homesteaders everywhere that are going to the grocery store. It is inevitable. I mean, I'm going to just tell you, we do what we can do. And I won't be the one to lie to you. Not everything is self-sufficient. I am having to go to the grocery store myself this year and get canned goods. I'm very picky at what I do. I will get supplies that I need to store up so I can do homemade, however. So flours, wheat, I will do that. I will store up. I will go get a big 25-pound bag of flour for $14.95 at Sam's Club. Even though it's bleached bread flour, I am still going to get that bread flour to make my own bread, crust, whatever I need it for. All-purpose flour, same way. Come home, putting them in my 5-gallon sealable container, food gradable, and store that up for the winter. I don't have a food mill. I don't have the land to ground my own wheat, flours, wheat berries, or anything else. I don't own a food mill to grind it, to even order it online. I will buy it from the store. So I can't do everything. Self-sufficiently, though, as far as homemade, I do this for 2 reasons. One reason, so that I can have food that's healthier. I know what's in it, and I'm eliminating preservatives. Mediterranean lifestyle, as I had spoken yesterday, is about eliminating all the preservatives as we possibly can. Hence the reason why even in low carb, I will learn to do things homemade as well, because a lot of preservatives hurt a diabetic. And to be honest with you, preservatives is probably what's got us sick and overweight in the first place. And I'm going to be the one not to be afraid to say so. Do your research and you can find out for yourself, but I have never felt better since I started stepping away from it, doing this all-natural lifestyle as I have. Now, when I mentioned Mediterranean with All-American, they kind of coincide together. Mediterranean is not basically limited like low carb or diabetic. However, it is portion controlled and it is more on whole food based. That is the only difference between them. And if the two work together, honestly, here's the way most All-American, here's what I am doing under the Mediterranean to give you an example what I'm eliminating that All-American does. Okay, so if I want a small portion of macaroni and cheese, first of all, for me, the cheese would be real grated cheese, not already pre-done. I would pre-slice, or I would slice it myself, for one. I would eliminate how much of that I would use in a time, such as I might have macaroni and cheese once a month. I might have it once a week, but I would eliminate the amount of cheese that I would use within that week, although I don't completely eliminate cheese. So the All-American fast, easy boxes, get packages, or how would I explain this, bulk sizes of macaroni and cheese package, go to your stove, fix it up, voila, dinner's done. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not telling anybody there's anything wrong with that. By all means, if this is your lifestyle, do so. What I'm explaining, the difference between Mediterranean and All-American, Mediterranean would be homemade. All-American would be convenience. The only difference. So I would, when I think about Mediterranean, I would think about, okay, how do I describe this? When I think of All-American, some of the things that I would like to have for myself: pizza crust, frozen pizzas, All-American convenience, macaroni and cheese, All-American convenience, hamburger helper, All-American convenience. These type of products here is what I'm talking about. Ones you buy by the box, you store on your shelf, and it's quick, simple, done on the stove, put on your table. These are things where it's different under Mediterranean. The Mediterranean would basically do everything homemade, eliminating the processing of processed foods, preservatives, and additives into that convenience. So again, I am not downing anybody. Please know that. You do what you have to do for your family. All I'm doing is comparisons between the two. So for me, if I find that I like I want to do a hamburger helper of sorts, and I want to think about stocking, I will list ingredients that I need, such as variety pastas. That is what I will put on my pantry. I will need the variety of pasta. I will need the variety of seasonings. That will go on my pantry. Meats. That will go either in my pantry or in my freezer. This is what I'm talking about when you think about what you like. When you think about wanting to step away from preservatives as much as possible, break down that recipe, look at it. What am I adding to this? What can I eliminate? What can I do homemade? And if you really, really wanted to get into it, you could make homemade pasta. I don't always have that time to do so. I will, but I don't always. So I will use dried pasta. That is going to be one of my shelf stableness for this winter. And I will use it in moderation I do not eat pasta every day, same with rice. Now my rice grains, I will be using wild rice, basmati rice, or I will use quinoa. These are my grain sources that I choose under the Mediterranean. Long grain rice is way too processed for me. It is way too carby, starchy. I prefer to step away from that and stick with more of the whole grains that give me fiber as well. So you, and under the All-American, stock up on long grain rice if you want. It will take you a long way, along with dried beans, a variety of beans. Mediterranean, we talked somewhat about that. Different varieties of lentil beans, black beans, chickpeas, and cannelli beans, kidney beans. These are good sources under the Mediterranean diet to use and have in your pantry, whether you can them for convenience or whether you store them dry. Both are good to put on your pantry. Different, just like low carb, many different variety of vegetables. Now in this category, Mediterranean and All-American, corn, peas, beans, carrots, any of these you can absolutely use. Potatoes, you can literally can. There's recipes in the canning book, although I'm not doing that this year. I find for one person, canning herbed potatoes may be unnecessary because I wouldn't eat it as much. Then again, as I think about it, potatoes, as they're rising in cost, might be a smart move to do a small batch of herb potatoes for me. I can literally, with these herb potatoes, because I use the red. Now here is where the red potatoes come fantastically in your pantry shelf when it comes to canning. I will give you the difference between a russet potato and a red potato. Russet potatoes are very starchy. And I have found when I have canned russet potatoes, I will get that starch at the bottom of my jar every single time. What I have learned when I use the red potatoes, I do not get that starch. Matter of fact, I did the red herbed potatoes and they came out beautiful in my jar. The other thing I found is those red potatoes, I could actually make potato salad out of it if I wanted to. I was literally able to slice those potatoes and fry them. I could not do that with the russet, they fell apart. I could bake those russet or those red potatoes and make a baked potato wedges. Again, I could not do that with the russets because they fell apart. The only thing I found, in my opinion, the russets were good for was making mashed potatoes. Because as far as everything else I tried, they fell apart. So this tip, I'm hoping, helps you. Many people will do canning sessions, but they won't tell you the outcome. They won't describe to you the difference between the two, and I am here to tell you the difference. I found if I am going to can potatoes, I am going to use the red potatoes because they did absolutely better on my shelf than anything. Now, as the downfall to a red potato versus the russet, they do not make a good mashed potato. They were too creamy to baste, and it took a lot of liquid to be able to do that. So, and they were kind of a different kind of consistency. So if I were going to do them for a mashed potato, I would use the russet. So there's your difference. Here's what you can pick and choose. You do not have to make an herbed. I probably, thinking about it, I'm going to do a small batch of herb potatoes and put them on the shelf for me, because I can fry them up for a side dish. I can bake them up in wedges for a side dish. So I probably will make a small batch of them, but I will not do the russets. If I'm going to do a mashed potato for me, I'm just simply going to use fresh potatoes. However, the price of potatoes is going to tell me, from what I did and what I've seen, I am going to dehydrate and I am going to can some, because if the potatoes keep rising in cost, y'all, I'm going to my resources here, waiting it out until they come down. So I will enjoy my potatoes very moderately in different forms. So that is another one for us. Basically, there is a whole lot more we can do is storing our food under the Mediterranean and under All-American than low carb. However, low carb is not without its storing, and I helped many of you yesterday on that factor. Now, when I do scallop potatoes, I'm going to tell you, those of you who are diabetic, and here is the bonus I'm going to give you. I am doing scallop potatoes for All-American Mediterranean, but I am not going to leave you out, because did you know you can have scallop potatoes, but you're going to replace your potatoes from dried to fresh. You're not going to use a potato at all. You're going to eliminate potato, and you are going to use a turnip. Yep, you are going to use a turnip. You will take and peel your turnip on your mandolin, thin slice, mandelize your potatoes to thin slices. In a lined baking dish, you are going to line your turnips on the bottom. I am going to include for you a not storeable base for your scallop mix, but yours is fresh, liquid form fresh, and you're going to pour this over yours with cheese, and you're going to make more like an augratin scallops. And I am going to, for my bonus, include that recipe. Well, not recipe, but I am going to give you the link to Papa G's. Papa G does an amazing low-carb augratin scallop potatoes. For those, I have eaten it. Y'all, and I had added ham to this. You can add chicken to this as well as I can add it from my own here. And you can eat the same thing with your family in a different form. I will put that link in the description for you. Please enjoy it. I did when I was on my low carb, and I will tell you occasionally still to this day, I will enjoy that same recipe with my husband. I am, y'all, doing both at times. I will do low carb and I will do Mediterranean both. I am maintaining this weight, and I will do what it takes. So if I enjoy it, and you know I'm very particular about my food, that tasted very good. So it was worth putting that in the description for you as well. For those who are diabetic, for those of you low carb, I'm not going to leave you out. But the difference is, again, for me, Mediterranean, All-American, I do have a dry mix. I am going to be doing on this video with you, along with giving you the recipe to store on your shelf. That is the only difference that I can do between low carb and the other way that this video is about. Flours. Stock up on all-purpose, bread flour, yeast, stock up on sugar, honey. These are the things that I would put on my shelf for the winter. I am going to put on my shelf for the winter, because for me, I will not be buying bread for my winter. Everything bread sourced will be used as homemade from me. Now that's completely up to you. I find that I can double my batches, and I can freeze it, and I can last all winter. It's all natural, it is preservative free, and I know what's in my ingredients. These are some of the things I will store in my pantry. I am currently taking my chicken eggs, and this will go for both Mediterranean and low carb diabetics. I am taking my chicken eggs, and I am this year freezing them. I know I've heard many do the water glassing. There's a controversy between liking and not liking it. I tend to not feel comfortable doing that just yet. I am very comfortable with freezing mine. And if I had a freeze dryer, I would actually turn them into egg powder. I do not have that, and I won't. For my sake, I will not dehydrate my eggs. To me, they're too much of a risk. I know many people who will do that. But y'all, I'm different. I veer to safety for my family. I'm not one to take risks just because I want to store. It's just not worth it to me. So I will freeze my eggs. And how I do that is I will put single serving eggs in a muffin pan, slightly break my yolk, freeze them, and I can use that in baking. I can use that in making scrambled eggs. I can use that into making frittatas, waffles, pancakes. The only thing I can't do with it is fry an egg. Everything else I can use a frozen egg for. I am trying that this year. So that is another thing you can store up in your freezer. There's really not much per se that you, in many different varieties, you can use fruits, vegetables, celery seed. You can take celery and basically dehydrate celery, turn it into celery salt. You can use it for seasoning. There is so much you can do. Beets, dehydrate. As you can see, basically this pantry is filled with a lot. This is my dehydrated dry good pantry, y'all, and a lot of it is what I do for myself from Whole Foods. So think about these. Do these ideas. Sit down. Think of what is good for your family, and let's go from there. Think about, I can give you, like I told you on the low carb side, I can give you a basic, in which that's exactly what I've done. The basics. That includes tomato sauces, everything. Whether you're doing it fresh from your garden or whether you're getting it from the store. Stock on these. Now, here is how I have normally stocked throughout the summer and spring. I don't do a run, a bulk, stock pantry thing. I do not believe in hurting others. I do not believe in draining a store. What I do is each week from my husband's paycheck, I will take a little bit extra that I have. I will go to the store. I will buy what I need and I will put it up, as you see here, and I won't use it. This is like a savings account to me. This is what I look at storing my pantry for the winter as. I have my main bank account that I use every day, which is my grocery shopping. This is my everyday food that I will use throughout the week. And then I have my savings account. That is my pantry. This is my stocks. So I will take what I can from my checking. I will go to the grocery store and buy extra. That extra I will put in my savings account, my winter stocks. And I'm hoping that I'm making sense here. And then I will put that away and not touch it. That is my extras. That is going to build for my future for the next 3 to 4 months. And so that's how I do from spring all the way through summer, partly into fall, and come winter, I stop. Now I am going to go into my savings account, into my winter pantry, and I am going to use these foods for the entire winter for the next several months. Now I will go into my checking account now, and it's going to flip, basically. If you think about this, it's flipping. So I'm using my checking account to store in my savings account. I'm using our paycheck for the week, taking my extras and putting it in my savings or into my pantry for the winter. Now, come winter, I'm going to flip this around, and I am going to use my winter stocks like I did my checking. My extras, I need milk, I need cheese, I need things like this. Now I'm going to borrow that from my checking, my little bit that I need here that I didn't be able to store up for my savings or for my winter stocks. So those are my emergency foods that I can't store. I could do dried milk and stuff like that. Yes, I could. So, and which actually I'm using dried milk into this recipe today. So I can do some dried milk, but my husband likes the real deal. So we will buy milk, we will buy cheese if we have to. and I run out of eggs, we will get eggs. So the emergency. So we're just flipping. No longer are we using the main bank account for storing for our winter. We're going to be using our savings as our main and using the checking as our emergency. If that made any sense, I really do hope. So when you think about storing Mediterranean, when you think about storing All-American, basically there's no limitations in either one. Store up, use. The only limitations or the only requirements under Mediterranean is homemade as much as absolutely possible. That is your only difference. The All-American is, I call it a free-for-all. Everything and anything you can think of that will supply for your family, dry goods, canned goods, any of these. Anything that you canned from your garden, all of these are storeable, used for your winter. Mediterranean, you're going to go more homemade versions. You're going to spend more time. Spend your weekend. Prepare your meals for the week. Bake your breads. When you bake one loaf, bake two. That way you can store one in your freezer. If you want to do, which I had done, prepare pizza dough by bulk, divide them up, freeze them. When you want pizza, pull your dough out of your freezer, defrost it, make your dough that evening, and voila, you have pizza. Do these things by bulk, store them up, and then you have your convenience as well. Only yours is homemade, leaving out the preservatives. That is the only difference between these, and this is what I'm doing. I'm eliminating preservatives. I am doing more homemade as much as possible. Now, potato gnocchis. Believe this or not, they can go both ways, Mediterranean and All-American. All-American basically would buy gnocchis and store them up. Absolutely perfect. Mediterranean, however, and I think I just said that, All-American can buy them pre-made. Mediterranean can make them homemade. How can you do that? Very simple. I am going to be doing a gnocchi recipe. What I will do, though, is take portions of this. I am going to, in individuals, after I make my gnocchi, I am going to line them in a baking pan. I'm going to freeze them for 1 hour until they're frozen. Then I'm going to store them in a Ziploc freezer bag, and I have my gnocchi. All I have to do is defrost, put them into my water, boil them, make my meal. And I have fresh gnocchi. So these are things you can do. I have a lot of recipes low carb. I have a lot of recipes Mediterranean that will fall in line with prepping, that will fall in line of everyday meals. This is a never-ending lifestyle for me, and my video content will be filled with plenty, and I absolutely mean plenty, both sides, diabetic, Mediterranean / All-American lifestyle. So I do, like I've told you, I have some bread recipes, low carb, coming up. I have certain type of bread recipes, Mediterranean, that I will be doing. And that's not just any type. When I think of my bread, I like more of the whole grain, so I really won't have a lot of white bread recipes. That's your All-American. Although they're super simple, honestly. You will get from me more sourdough, whole wheat, Italian bread sources, basically, things like this. A few others, maybe like my bagels would probably be some meat. Various others, whole grain recipes is what you're going to get from me. So, and again, I will do English muffins. For occasionally, I will go and get an English muffin. I will do biscotti, because biscotti is a nice treat for me, not super sugary. Olive oil cakes, I have one actually that I made. It's absolutely delicious. It's an orange olive oil cake. I have froze. If I want a dessert, I have cut portions. I'll go in my freezer, defrost it, and I have a beautiful cake. Tastes just like I did the day I made it. So right now I'm going to set you up and let's do this scallop potato dry mix, and we will get this started for you to put on your shelf is what I'm fixing to do on mine. So I'm going to prepare this and we will be right back. Okay, my beautiful family, so you're not going to see my face in this one, so we're going to actually do this right here, and I am going to be putting in the recipe for you. So I'm first going to start out with 1 cup of all-purpose flour. So I am going to, give me a moment to get a spoon here. And I am using my reserved of my 5-gallon bucket of my flour, as you see right here. This stock lasts me all winter long. This is the best thing, and I will go to Sam's. It's about $12 to $15 for flour, but y'all, that's 25 pounds worth of flour. Well worth doing this for. So again, so I don't get more, just like I do in my flour, key thing, or my breads, key thing, my flour will be filled with a spoon flowingly, like I just showed you, scraped off, and added to my bowl. I'm not getting more than I need. So that is my flour mix. That was 1 cup. I need 1 cup of cornstarch. This does make a bulk, y'all. So, and I will have to get some more cornstarch. I need to get me a spoon, so hang in there. I prepared everything, but that's the one thing I didn't. Oh, wait, maybe I can do it this way. Yeah, that'll fit in there. So I am actually going to add that to my cup. This would be the thickening agent, basically, for the scallop potatoes. And it keeps it from, like the caking agent, this keeps it from caking up. So there's 1 cup cornstarch. Sorry about the noise. I'm definitely going to have to get some more of this. I don't use it very often, so 1 can will last me all winter. That's the other thing when you think of storing. Don't go overboard. Just get what you need, what you think you're going to need. Like I said, I don't use a lot of cornstarch, so 1 big container like this will last me. Because I don't always do bulk things like this. Now I need 2 cups of dried powdered milk. So I do have those reserved as well. And I am going to see how much each package is going to give me here. So again, we'll need scissors. Alright, so I'm going to add 2 cups of dried powdered milk. I'm going to straddle this thing right here. Oh, these are about 1 cup bags, just about. That means I'll have extra, and as much as was left, I'll probably just, honestly, I'm just going to add all these. 2 of these packages will be absolutely enough to say that this will work. Some things, if you just got that much extra, I would just add that, so I'm not wasting anything. Now I'm going to need 3 tablespoons of dried chives. 1, 2, and 3. I need a 1/4 cup of dried onion flakes. Now I told you I'm going to add a bit depth of flavor to mine. So I am literally going to use my, no, that won't fit in there. I'm going to use my caramelized onions because I think this will give this a really good flavor. And personally, I like this, so I may add, it's just for flavoring per se, I'm going to add a little bit more onions than that. See, that's the nice about these recipes, go by flavor. I need 1 tablespoon of onion powder. I should have had my apron on for this. I need 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Personally, I like garlic, so I'm going to go with 2 or 1.5. I need 1 teaspoon of fresh black pepper. Cracked black pepper. Yeah, that was 1 teaspoon. That takes a while. But I like this cracked better than since I've had this, I honestly can't remember when the last time I bought pepper. Honestly, I just happen to like this better. So I will buy black peppercorns by the bulk, which I'm fixing to do that. 1 container like this will last me all winter long. Alright, so here's my black pepper. I need 2 teaspoons of ground mustard. 1 and 2. I need 4 teaspoons. Now that seems a bit extreme to me. So it says 4 teaspoons of salt. I'm actually going to go 2. If I find it's not salty enough, then I will actually go ahead and add more to my dish when I make it. I can always add more salt. I choose not to. You can always add more, you just can't take it away. So go based by your preference. The recipe says 4, I just went 2. And optional, use about 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now I am actually going to do that because 1/8 of a teaspoon isn't going to really put a kick in something this bulk. So I am actually going to, and mine is homemade, powdered, and it's from my garden, fresh. So again, I wouldn't use a whole lot of fresh cayenne. Very, very much different from the grocery store. So this is 1/8 of a teaspoon. That's perfect enough even for the homemade version. So just a tiny bit. And that's it. That is your dry mix. Now you see how much this gives you. I mean, it's half this bowl is full, y'all. Now to be able to see it even better when we put it into our jar, mix this up very, very well. And I will give you the recipe to be able to make this. Basically what it comes down to is for 3 cups of your scallop dried potatoes, dehydrated potatoes, you will use 3 cups of this. You'll take a greased baking dish. You will line your 3 cups of potatoes at the bottom of your pan first. 9 by 13 inch baking dish actually. Then you will take a 1/2 cup of this mix. See what it says here. Add 2 3/4 cups of water, boiling hot water, 2 tablespoons of butter. Pour that over your scallop, your dried potatoes. Make sure your potatoes are submerged under the liquid. Pop it in your oven at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes, covered. Then uncover it, bake it for additional 15 minutes, and you have scallop potatoes. Just that easy. It took maybe 5 minutes, I'd say, to make this mix. And by the way, this mix will last you 6 months, up to 6 months. Mix, we're going to fill up our jar. I am using a wide mouth jar so that I can stick my measuring cups into it as much as I can. Let me put this aside here. Now, just like my canning jars, I'm going to use my quarter cup because it'll fit here better. This actually might give me more than this quart jar. We'll see what it does. I'm just going to fill my quart jar up. I may have to go with a bigger jar, y'all. This actually is giving us more than a quart, and you only use half at a time, so think of how many meals this is actually going to make you. Wow. Y'all, this is great. Yep, I'm still... Okay. Let's see if I can bring this down some more. Yeah, I can get at least one more. This basically adds 1 quart to... Lord help. Let me see if I can get all this in here. There's not much left. Go ahead and do this. I'm going to get it settled down in here so I can get the rest of this in. And I'm going to pack this jar, basically. Yeah. Ah, now I can. Yeah. Yep. All I had to do is just pack that bad boy down. So we get exactly 1 good quart jar of this mix. And you can choose to put the directions on your jar if you want to. I have it written down, so I'm not going to do that, but I am going to take this. Now, I'm going to make out a label that says scallop potato dry mix. Dry mix. And I'm just going to add that to my jar. And that's it, y'all. We have 1 meal, super simple, 2 jars on my shelf, and I have a meal just in this right here. That is amazing. You can store this on your shelf. You take up no space except for shelf space in a jar. A whole entire meal for your family. Whoops, wrong one. Not your onions, y'all. Potatoes, potatoes. Sorry about that. I thought I had the potatoes. So, 1 meal, 2 jars. Perfect. This is what I love about pantry storing. This is what I love about feeding families. Minimal. So, I'm going to set this aside. And with the mess, I am actually going to set this up and come back with you. So, my family, I am seriously hoping these are helping you. Like I said, I have plenty of new videos coming up. That's the one thing I could say. My videos will have a library. I have enough to keep me going for a lifetime. Basically, this is my life. This is how I do things. And all I'm doing, I'm not actually, this is what's amazing about my channel, is I'm not doing anything basically that I don't do every day. All I'm doing pretty much is taking you with me into my everyday lifestyle. I'm not doing nothing special. Now, no, not even low carb. I need to make my husband a loaf of bread because frankly, that little bitty piece of bread that I call, that we get from the grocery store, that's $6, I can go in my kitchen and bake my husband something far better than that. So I even have to do that. So basically what I do is I take you with me in my everyday lifestyle. So I'm not making special videos. Now occasionally I may do that, but for the most part, I'm just taking you with me in my life. This is how I live. And I told you from the very beginning a year ago when I started this channel, I'm raw, I'm real, and you got me the same way every single video that you see. You have seen that, and by now, if there was going to be something different, I'm going to tell you, you'd have seen it by now. So, this is me, y'all, and I just take you with me. I will prepare my meals for my family, and I sometimes have to do 3 different type of meals. I'm okay with that, because I know that my family is getting fed healthy and to their accommodations. Sometimes that's what it takes. We can't go out. So, here's an instance. The kids, they went and got pizza for their family from Little Caesars. Me and my husband knew that it won't accommodate for him. These places don't accommodate for my husband. He can't have that crust, but they won't make a crustless pizza for him. What did I do? We had a meal at one time where I made him low-carb pizza crust. What was left of his pizza, we froze. I made an Italian Mediterranean style basically pizza for me. I had half my pizza left over, so I froze it. We all had pizza night because I pulled those out of the freezer, defrosted mine and his, baked it, and we had pizza as a family because I prepared beforehand. So I could accommodate both for us, and they accommodated for themselves. So that's how we do things, and that's how I've done it. Now, I have done it where my all-American family, the kids, the grandkids, they're the all-American side. This is what's amazing about my videos. I thought about this yesterday and thought, wow, this is baffling. I have my diabetic, I have the Mediterranean, and I have the all-American, all in the same household, and all gets accommodated. And I am bringing that to you because we are not, I guess, on purpose. It was just the everyday life. This is how we live. So I guess the combination of everything fulfills everybody in a way that everyone can relate to these videos if it really thought about it. So I just, like I said, I'm hoping these help. My lifestyle is completely different than most people. A lot of the videos are in one direction, and we are multitasking directions, literally. So I love you all. I do. I enjoy being on these videos with you because it's not just a video to me. You are family, and every time I'm with you, I lost my cup of coffee right over here, but every time I'm with you, I feel like friends. We sit together, we're communicating with each other, we're family who understands each other. We are in predicaments and we don't know what to do, so we communicate and knowing, well, hey, I've got this idea, so how about if we do this? Or let me tell you my experience, and I've had plenty of those. Some of you are giving me information, believe it or not, that helps me as well. So I thank you for sharing with me. I thank you for sharing your experiences with me as well. It does help. And I will go to looking and thinking, hey, you know, how can I incorporate this into my life? So thank you. Until next time, we do have some bread recipes coming up, and I do have it where I am actually going to be making some of these tonight with the fish meal. I do have it where I am going to be doing the diabetic one for my husband because we are having fish and scallop potatoes. So, and in his, I'm going to be making his again. Here's where we do the Mediterranean versus low carb, 2 different meals. I'm okay with that because I know everybody is satisfied and I know everybody is taken care of accordingly. I will go the extra mile to do that. So I have more videos coming up, and as far as that bread for him, I want to try it and see how it works, because if he can have a loaf of bread and we save $6 for this itty bitty piece, I am absolutely going to do what it takes. So love you all very much. We will see you again very soon. Much love for Parton's Heritage Homestead.